So unfortunately, my colleague from Yazda, Haider Elias, hasn't been able to make it, but like I said, I'm going to do my best to present a bit of the work that we did in documenting the destruction of Yazidi cultural heritage by Islamic State. So obviously, I'm sure Haider could do a much better job of this, but to just give you a bit of background on this particular project, the Yazidi people can trace their identity and faith back over 6,000 years in ancient Mesopotamia. And the community is concentrated in northern Iraq, where one of the holiest sites of the Yazidi faith, Lalish, is located. And as Bastian mentioned in his introduction, Êzidî had some wonderful photographs of Lalish that they were able to share with us for this exhibition to give you an example of the types of architecture that are associated with Yazidi cultural heritage sites. Lalish is now actually also on the UNESCO World Heritage Tentative list as of just last year. So, and really, what this presentation is a bit about is the in the summer of 2014, Islamic State began a series of assaults on the Yazidi community in northern Iraq. I'm sure many of you are aware of this. I'm sure some of you saw the news coverage, especially, for example, of the events around Sinjar, in which many Yazidis had to flee up Mount Sinjar and were trapped without food and water. I'm sure you've also heard a lot about the atrocities committed against the Yazidi community by Islamic State. And the intention of Islamic State was really to eradicate the Yazidi people and their beliefs through ethnic cleansing and genocide. And so a lot of truly terrible acts were committed. One facet of this destruction, or one facet of the whole destruction that Islamic State was committing against the Yazidis, was the destruction of cultural heritage sites. And so if you wanted to know more about these events in general, I mean, Yazda have been doing some absolutely essential work and advocacy for the Yazidi community. So I would encourage you to follow them and find out more about the work that they are doing. In particular, the EAMENA project became involved with both Yazda and Rashid International, who are focused on safeguarding cultural heritage in Iraq, to focus on producing a report about the producing a report about the destruction of Yazidi cultural heritage during this period. And so the report really goes into detail about the events that occurred, and particularly the destruction of heritage in and around the Sinjar and Bazani regions. And so what we were asked to do was to use satellite imagery. There we go. What EAMENA was asked to do was to use satellite imagery to be able to verify the destruction of these Yazidi sites. And so we were provided with several sources of information on this. And these were sites, like I said, in both the Sinjar and Bazani regions. This is just an aerial image showing you the area of Sinjar. And so we were provided initially with photographs and coordinates, as well as reported dates of destruction of these sites by Yazda and Rashid. And then we were then asked to use satellite imagery to verify these. And so we attempted to use various types of satellite imagery. Initially, this included freely available high-resolution imagery. However, imagery that was of decent enough quality to be able to actually see these sites and correspond with the dates we are interested in was very difficult to acquire. Freely available imagery of this type was very difficult to acquire. In general, only low to medium resolution images are sort of available for large parts of countries like Iraq on platforms like Google Earth. So we ended up having to purchase high resolution commercial imagery to be able to do our assessment. And that high resolution imagery is good in the sense that it provides us with the ability to see features that are, say, less than 0.5 meter in diameter, so really be able to see what's happening in specific sites and features and buildings on the ground. However, working with this sort of commercial imagery, the downside is that it can be quite costly. And the second part is that it can also have a lot of restrictions on us being able to share it. So unfortunately, I'm not able to show you that specific imagery. But hopefully I can talk you through the process of how we've done these assessments and some of the results of our work. So the selection of the imagery that we used was really based on the dates we were given in terms of when these sites were meant to have been destroyed, and the quality of the imagery. So we ended up obtaining multiple images from different dates covering our various areas of interest. And these were specifically looking for dates before the destruction of these sites and after, so that we could verify when these roughly happened. So to just give you a sense of sort of how we do these condition assessments in the EAMENA project, is that we record a number of different things about the condition of archaeological sites or of heritage sites. And this includes things like the overall condition of the site. Is it very badly damaged? Is it completely destroyed? The extent of the damage. If we're looking at a satellite image, how much of the horizontal extent of the site has suffered this damage? As well as we try to determine the type of the disturbance. What are the actual events that have led to this disturbance? Has it been cleared by bulldozer? Has it been demolished in another way? And then we also record how certain we are about our observations of these various things. So to just give you a sense of how we combine all these sources for these types of assessments, if you can see my pointer here, is that this is just showing you an example from the EAMENA database of one of these Yazidi sites, religious sites. And so if we were to zoom in on this sort of modern high resolution imagery, we can see one of the sort of, might be difficult to see, but I promise it's visible in other imagery as well, is that we can see some of the characteristic elements of Yazidi religious sites, which are these conical roofs that sit atop the shrine. And so this is just an example of those types of roofs here. This is again from Lalish. And we can actually see that we can see them there. But then we can also see, again, we can see these features here in this example of one of these sites after its destruction. So the conical roof is still there, but sitting amongst the rubble of these destroyed sites. To take you through a specific example, I just wanted to show you some of the sources that we used for a particular assessment that we did on the Êzidî temple. This site was reported to have been destroyed by Islamic State on October 14th of 2014. And by being able to use different types of imagery, it gave us sort of different perspectives on the same site, which can then help us to determine its condition. Imagery analysis showed that the site was very badly damaged. We can see from the imagery that a lot of it had been what looked to be completely cleared, and we could see a lot of rubble. And as you can imagine, we can also see that here in these drone photographs that were provided by Yazda. Again, we see the same image, the same type of destruction, where we've got lots of piles of rubble and sort of no evidence of the standing temple anymore. And again, the same sort of thing also can be provided by ground-based photos that have been taken by Yazda as well to sort of confirm the condition of these sites. So overall, we were asked to look at 24 sites in both Sinjar and Bazani. 3 we could not locate and assess with confidence, but for the 21 that we were able to assess, based on the imagery, we were able to say that all were in either very bad condition or were completely destroyed. At least 75% of them had horizontal damage or disturbance extent between 60 and 100%. And almost all we were able to determine looked like this had been caused by either clearance or demolition. So, like Bastian said, we weren't able to use a 3D model in this exhibition, but we are able to sort of tell this story, and the use of sort of different types of images on the ground, satellite imagery, that allowed us to do this really important documentation work and contribute to this. So I do hope that you will go through the exhibition and have a look at the broader story. Also, I'd just like to say that if you want to learn more about the genocide against the Yazidi people, there's an excellent exhibition that is just launching in 2021, which involves virtual reality and an immersive experience, and tells the stories of survivors of the Yazidi genocide. It's called Nobody's Listening, so I'd encourage you to have a look at that as well. And equally, obviously, our report that we did with Rashid and Yazda is available open access via the EAMENA website. And also just to say to look out for another article that we have coming out very soon in the Asian Yearbook of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law. So please do just follow us on our social media for more announcements about that in the future. Thank you very much.